If I could describe my perfect man, physically, it's Craig Tovey. He's 6'2". He's a combination between Jason Sudeikis and John Krasinski. He's got a penchant for deep conversation and a great sense of humor. Before I go further, by round of applause, anybody in this audience who has children? How many of you guys have children? Great, great, great. Okay. Now, out of everybody who just clapped, clap again if you were married when you had those children. Great. Okay. Now, how many of you accidentally got pregnant from a one-night stand with your friend Craig, and now you're co-parenting a 3.5-year-old? So just, okay. Well, boy, do I have a story for you. Good old Craig. He came over that night to make me feel better. And it was a rough night for both of us. First off, he had had 2 bottles of Coors Light, and I had 2 bottles of Chardonnay. So, a very different vibe going on. At one point during sex, he asked me to not throw up on him. So not the whirlwind romance we're all hoping for, right? The next morning, I text him, I go, hey man, I just want to make sure we're good. And he goes, yeah, we're so good. I wouldn't even consider what we did last night sex. And I was like, oh, thank God, me neither. Woo! I was like, so can we make a pact? And he's like, yeah. I go, let's not tell anybody. He's like, no, we're not going to tell anybody. So we made a vow. We are not going to tell a single person for the rest of our lives under any circumstances that we ever had sex. Yeah. Yeah. What a fun promise. Because 3 weeks later, a late period of positive pregnancy test, we were like, we're gonna have to tell a lot of fucking people, right? So here's the interesting thing about Craig and I. We both come from very conservative and religious families, and we both left them to pursue a career in entertainment and hedonism, okay? So this was not on either of our 5-year plans, okay? Now, Craig was supportive from the beginning. When I say supportive, he was like, I'm gonna support you. Whatever you decide to do, just make sure you make the right decision. Okay, I'm gonna support you. Like, that was him supporting me. Now, I didn't want to be a mom. I should say, I never wanted to be a single mom. I was raised by one. I saw how hard that was, and I was like, absolutely not, hard pass. Did my mom teach me how to make White Russians by the time I was 8? Yes, but other than that, not a lot of perks, okay? Yes. But here I was looking down the barrel of being a single mom, and I was like, what am I gonna do? And my therapist, Annie, said, well, you know, Nicole, sometimes we create what we fear most. And I'm like, yeah, but if that were true, I'd be performing this tonight in a room filled with snakes and pap smears, so. Now, ironically, I took to pregnancy swimmingly, which surprised all my friends because I used to eat the morning after pill like they were Tic Tacs, right? You know, sometimes you put them in a Pez dispenser just to keep it interesting. Oh, change it up, right? And I did have doubts. I had those thoughts in my head. I was like, I cannot have a baby. It will ruin my career. No one will ever date a single mom. But at the same time, I had this mama bear energy. I was radiating mama bear energy. Craig, as supportive as he was radiating more of like a midlife crisis, is what his vibe was. Let me get specific here. So, while I was installing a car seat and learning how to breastfeed, Craig got 3 tattoos and a brand new BMW. Right? I'm just gonna tell you this. Before I told Craig I was pregnant, he had 0 tattoos. Today, 4 years later, he has 9, okay? 9, you guys, wait, you guys, wait. They're all so sad. Oh, they're so sad. These are the saddest tattoos you've ever, there's one, it's like a clown and it's crying. There's another one, it says, eat the rich, which is something only poor people say. And then like 6 of them are lyrics from that band, The Smiths. Do you guys know The Smiths? Right? The lead singer, Morrissey, the biggest Debbie Downer ever. Like Morrissey's Who's in Your Earbuds right before you step in front of a bus on purpose, right? So sad. So sad. Let me think. That's 7, 8 tattoos. I'm missing one. I'll think about it. Okay, so Craig comes back to Kansas City with me to meet my entire family. And that's when my dad's like, are you sure you guys don't want to be together? And I said, Dad, no, and I can explain why. Now, here's the deal. I'm an optimist at heart, but I'm also a moody bitch, right? And Craig, 10 times moodier. And so I saw this on TikTok, so you guys know this is verified. Anyway. But I explained it to my dad, and I said, 2 moody people can't be together. A moody person with a non-moody, 2 non-moody, fine, but 2 moody people can. So I said, Dad, it's like putting 2 polarizing magnets together when they're too moody. And you can't, long term, you can't force it. It's just not gonna work. But for one night, if you bend one over, look at that, pregnant. Right? My dad did not like that analogy at all. We have our date. It is 5 hours long of great food, great wine. But forget the fact that I've been in love with him for 20 years or that he's a celebrity. We talked about everything. Family, friends, our dog, like everything. And at one point I was laughing so hard my mascara started to run. So he took his napkin to wipe off my mascara. And then he started laughing and I took my napkin acting like I was gonna wipe off his mascara. You guys, he's not wearing mascara. We're just cuter than the Notebook is what I'm saying. Okay? And then it all hit me and I was like, oh my God, he's my Prince Charming. It's all falling into place. Like some people have to kiss a few frogs. I banged an entire koi pond to get to this guy. This is perfect. And then it was past close. We were the only ones there. And everybody wanted to go home, whether it be because it was late or because I filled the restaurant with an unnatural tear gas. Anybody's guess. And he looks at me and he goes, look, I don't want tonight to end. Would you like to go back to my house for a glass of wine? You can meet my dog. And I was like, yeah, yes. And when I said yes like yes to forever. Like that's how it felt. I was like, it's happening. So we go back to his house. It's this beautiful house in Hollywood Hills. He gives me a tour. It's gorgeous. And, because I have a studio, so it's like, well, this is an upgrade. He gives me a tour. And then I meet his dog, and we have this moment. Now we're in the kitchen, he's pouring me a glass of wine, and I'm up against the kitchen counter, and there's that moment where he just kind of stares at me, and I'm like, oh my God. And he starts to step towards me. I'm like, oh, I'm about to get never been kissed. Like the adult in me was like, keep it calm, keep it cool. The 16-year-old in my head was like, run at him, tackle him, sit on his face, make babies. And I was like, shut up, 16, keep it down, okay? So he steps towards me, I straighten up. He steps towards me, I put my wine glass down. He steps towards me, now putting a hand on each side of me on the countertop, inches away from my face, and he's taking me in visually. And I'm like, just shaking. And he goes, God, you're beautiful. You guys, ladies, you know that our entire lives we are waiting to hear those magic words. We don't even know what they are specifically, but we think there's something like, you complete me, or you make me a better man, or your vagina tastes like the good Jolly Rancher. I don't know. But when he said I was beautiful, I was like, that's what I've been waiting for my entire life. This is amazing. So he closes his eyes and tilts his chin up. I close my eyes and I wet my lips and I wait. And I wait. And I wait. So it's not happening. I open my eyes and I'm like, yeah? And he kind of pulls back and he goes, are you okay? Yeah, I'm good. I'm great. I'm fantastic, actually. I'm really good. What's up? Then he takes 2 steps back and gets cold. And I was like, no. What did I do? I did something, I said something, I triggered something from his childhood. I don't know what's happening. Like, I don't know, but you have to find out. You have to just ask. You're like, sack it up, just ask. So I go, Michael, what is it? I got this. Like, whatever it is, just ask me. Just tell me. Just ask me, what is it? And he goes, okay, I gotta be honest. What is that smell? Did you shit yourself? Now, I have dated for over a decade in Los Angeles, and I came up with some observations that I'd like to share some with you, okay? Number one, my favorite part of dating in LA is the freak out moment, okay? It's guaranteed in every relationship. It's early on where the guy freaks out, okay? It's after something intimate has been exchanged. Perhaps he shared a memory from his childhood, or maybe you accidentally locked eyes when you were having sex. I don't know. But he starts to freak the fuck out, okay? He looks like he's in a horror movie scene that he can't get out of. When it would happen to me, the guy would look at me like I was Mike Myers and he was Jamie Lee Curtis. And even though I'm inching towards him very slowly, he's freaking the fuck out, right? He's going, no, slow down, you're moving too fast. And he's throwing things in my way to slow me down. He's like, ooh, a garbage can, bookshelf, homeless person. I'm just standing there like, hey man, I just wanted to know if our dogs could meet. It's been 10 months, you know? But by the look on his face, he's hearing the soundtrack to Friday the 13th. He's hearing the But really what I said was brunch, brunch, brunch with my mom. Brunch, brunch, brunch with my mom, right? All right, yep. Okay, so number 2, this is a good one. Ladies, you need to check out a guy's place almost immediately, right? Safety first and always. But before you commit or get naked, you need to see his pad immediately. Because here's the thing. You need to know how into video gaming he is. Now, if you walk in and he's got a gaming station in his living room where his friends can come over and socialize, fine, I don't care. But there's a direct correlation between how many articles of clothing you can take off to how many gaming consoles are in his bedroom, right? If he can only fall asleep to the sounds of Call of Duty and Skyrim, you're not dating a guy who's got a diversified portfolio, you know? Thank you, yeah. Now, this would have saved me a lot of time dating, because here's the deal. I was dating this guy for a month, late 40s, well-dressed, seemingly successful, but something was always off. So I was like, hey man, you gotta take me back to your spot. Let's check it out. So we go back to his place, we open the door, and it was like that scene in Big with Tom Hanks when she walks in and she's like, oh shit, it's a kid's playground, what the hell, right? So I open the door. First of all, it's a tiny studio apartment. If I was in my 20s, fine. But I'm pushing 40 with a career, this doesn't work, okay? 2, as soon as I open the door, boom, right there, his mattress on the floor. I hit it with my toe. On the floor, not on a bed frame, not on a box spring, on the floor. And ladies, no sheets. Not fitted, not flat. He had a crumpled up sleeping bag with a broken zipper. Then you start looking around because you're like, oh, are there dead bodies? What's happening? And then you get over here and you're like, there's an Avatar poster hanging by one thumbtack. There's a beautiful china cabinet, but it's filled with action figures. I'm sorry, he corrected me and he's like, those are actually called miniatures. Things I don't give a shit about, right? Now, if it's refreshments you're looking for, fear not. Because he has a mini fridge next to his mattress. Okay, here's the deal. Remember I said tiny studio, so let me logistically explain this to you. Mini fridge, 1, 2, 3, actual refrigerator. Mini fridge, actual refrigerator. You guys, if he's too lazy to get up and walk 3 feet, the chances of him providing for a family or finding my fun button are dismal. You know? Last piece of advice is that who we hang out with outside of our dating world is extremely important, especially after a breakup. Because after a breakup, we tend to date down, right? And we need our friends to be our radar. Here's the deal. After a breakup, you're not gonna go after the Margot Robbies and the Chris Evans anymore. That's what I call the Mount Everest. You just got your heart broken. You're gonna lower it, play it a little safer. You're gonna be hanging around like Mount Whitney or Half Dome, okay? Or if you're like me, who plays it really safe after a breakup, parking lot of Chipotle, okay? So basically, I'm dating Schmeagol from Lord of the Rings at this point, okay? Because he's not gonna leave, right? So I had just gone through this huge breakup, and I called my girlfriends, and I was like, I know I'm still healing, but it's been 24 hours, and I met this one guy, and he's really weird, but he's kind of nice, and I think he's the one. And they were like, you need to bring him to the bar right now. And I was like, well, it's a little late at night. And they're like, bring him to the bar. And I was like, okay. So we walk into the bar. Here I am dragging in fucking Gollum, okay? Dragging in Gollum, and 60 seconds, guys, no more than 60 seconds. My girlfriends have come up, separated us, sent him home in a lift, grabbed me a Sauvignon Blanc, sat me down and said, girl, we need to work on this self-esteem because this shit ain't happening again, okay? Yes. Never Been Kissed came out when I was 17, and in 1 year, I watched it upwards of 300 times. It was bad. I was in a bed. It was bad. I didn't have friends. Okay, so, I was obsessed with that movie so much that I would steal my mother's People magazines, and I would cut out pictures of his face. And then I would take those photos and put them on a poster board, and I would take that poster board and put it on my nightstand. And then I would kiss it every night and wish him sweet dreams. Kids, am I right? That's crazy. It's totally normal. It's fine. Because back then it was a collage and it was creepy. You know what they call it now? A vision board, and it's manifesting. Yeah, and that's why he's in the kitchen right now, because I willed it into life, okay? All right, so I look at Chris and I go, you have to introduce me. No. What do you mean, no? I want to meet him. You have to introduce me. I'm not going to do that. Kristen, you drug me here. I want to meet them. I need this. Please introduce me. And she goes, I'm not going to do that. You are in a full body sweat and you have custard on your chin. I am not doing that. So we start fighting back and forth at the same time through the sea of America's Next Top Models. One at the helm, Trinity, stands up and she's like, who wants to dance? Turn down for what? And she starts playing the music and I'm like, us, Trinity, turn down for us, the two old hags, okay? We're trying to have a conversation about carpal tunnel and eye cream. Turn it down. To which she does, and at the same time I look over and all the men are laughing, including Michael Vartan. And I'm like, oh, yeah, you like comedy, I'm your... Oh, that's cool. Then he starts to walk over and I'm like, oh, no, Kristen. Oh. And she goes, well, looks like you get your chance. And I'm like, chance for what? What's happening? She goes, Michael, so good to see you again. This is my friend Nicole. You two have a wonderful night. Bye. And she walks away and I'm like, no, my life preserver's gone. No, come back. Hi. There's no blood rushing to my brain at this point. So the next 3 exchanges are me just trying to repeat what he's saying because I can't breathe and I cannot focus. So he comes up and he's like, it's a great party, huh? And I'm like, oh, it's a great party, huh? He goes, the caterers did a really good job on the food. And I'm like, oh, yeah, caterers make food. And he goes, so how long have you known David? I've known David for years. And I go, oh, well, David and I go years back. I have no idea who David is, by the way. I assume by process of elimination that he's the birthday boy, but I don't want to jump to conclusions, you know? So I'm like, oh, David. At this point, he realizes how freaking weird I am. So he's like, how do I get out? He goes, well, it was nice meeting you. I have a dog to get home to, but enjoy the rest of your evening. And he starts to walk away, and I'm like, save the moment. And I go, I have a dog? And he turns around and he goes, okay, what kind? And I go, here's my opportunity to play it cool. That doesn't happen. So I say, oh, well, I have a chocolate Cocker Spaniel named Tootsie. She's 12 years old, though, now, so she's not really chocolate so much as she's gray. And a lot of people think I named her after that Dustin Hoffman movie, but I didn't. I named her after a bar in Nashville, but don't be confused. I did not name her after the dance move or the candy. Last piece of advice is that who we hang out with outside of our dating world is extremely important, especially after a breakup. Because after a breakup, we tend to date down, right? And we need our friends to be our radar. Here's the deal. After a breakup, you're not going to go after the Margot Robbies and the Chris Evans anymore. That's what I call the Mount Everest. You just got your heart broken. You're going to lower it, play it a little safer. You're going to be hanging around like Mount Whitney or Half Dome, okay? Or if you're like me, who plays it really safe after a breakup, parking lot of Chipotle, okay? So basically, I'm dating Schmeagol from Lord of the Rings at this point, okay? Because he's not gonna leave, right? So, I had just gone through this huge breakup, and I called my girlfriends, and I was like, I know I'm still healing, but it's been 24 hours, and I met this one guy, and he's really weird, but he's kind of nice, and I think he's the one. And they were like, you need to bring him to the bar right now. And I was like, well, it's a little late at night. And they're like, bring him to the bar. And I was like, okay. So we walk into the bar. Here I am dragging in fucking Gollum, okay? So, dragging in Gollum, and 60 seconds, guys, no more than 60 seconds. My girlfriends have come up, separated us, sent him home in a lift, grabbed me a Sauvignon Blanc, sat me down and said, girl, we need to work on this self-esteem because this shit ain't happening again, okay? Yes. I did have to stop hanging out with this group of married women because they made me feel bad. Well, they made me feel bad while simultaneously complaining about being married. Like, their biggest complaint was, we have to have sex all the time. They always want to have sex. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm sorry. The women that are complaining about sex have diamond rings on their finger. I'm over here doing Debbie Does Dallas in a hot tub with a guy named Tico, and he won't even accept my Facebook friend request. Do you know what I mean? Now, when I turned 36, I had the best handle on my life. I was in therapy. I was in the best shape of my life. I was making 6 figures doing what I love, and I was dating a higher caliber of man. I'm talking about the kind of guy who tells other people you're their girlfriend. In Los Angeles! You have to dig for these fuckers, but they're there! It was going great, and I actually was dating this one guy. Very briefly, he called it quits, and that's fine, because now I had new tools to self-soothe, okay? I wasn't gonna sleep around or drink my way through every bar. Instead, I could go hiking, I could meditate, and I could call my therapist. Yes, and that lasted for 2 whole weeks. Oh, you know what? I just realized I'm gonna be in Vancouver starting Monday. Is there any way I could just take you to dinner tomorrow night, like 7 o'clock? Yeah, let me check my schedule. You guys know I eat Nutella out of a jar, so I don't have a schedule. Right. So I thumb through my calendar and I'm like, oh, I can make room. Yeah, sure. He's like, great, I'll see you tomorrow. He leaves, he walks away. And at that point, I do what most women would do in this situation. I watch him walk away for entirely too long. I let out a really loud scream, run to the bathroom to call my kid's sister. So I get in the bathroom, I'm like, Tiffany, oh my God, there is a God. And she goes, what's happening? I go, okay, Tiffany, remember that movie we watched when we were kids with Drew Barrymore called Never Been Kissed? She's like, kind of. And I go, the one where she ends up marrying Mr. Coulson, the super hot teacher. And she goes, the guy that was all over your vision boards? And I was like, yes, those, yes. And I'm so glad you called them vision boards. Yes. I was like, yes, and I have a date with him tomorrow night. And she goes, oh my God, that's great. I'm gonna come over and I'm gonna style you, which is great. My sister's a stylist. Fantastic, because if it were up to me, I'd be wearing jeans, flip-flops, and a t-shirt that says, life's a bitch and so am I. Nobody wants it. So my sister's screaming, we're celebrating, I'm twirling around the bathroom, we're screaming louder, and then that's when I realize I'm not the only one in the bathroom. The 23-year-old Trinity from earlier is doing a line of blow off the toilet seat. And she looks up in all of her glory and she goes, oh my God, you're gonna bang that old guy? Gross. Now, all of my shame from the breakup and all my fear of dying alone started to rise up to the top, probably along with the glucose level because the sugar was really kicking in. And so I looked at her and her perfect little cheekbones and I couldn't help it and it just came out and I said, listen up, Trinity. 15 years from now, your boyfriend Bryce is going to break up with you, and he's going to kick you out of the Airstream, leaving you with nothing but vinyl records and low self-esteem. And you're going to have to go back to that waitressing job you swore you'd never go back to. Meanwhile, I'm going to be married to Michael Vartan, living in a mansion, raising our babies because I stopped taking birth control months ago. So shut the f*** up, Trinity. I win. She's fine. She's on a CW show now. It's fine. She's gonna make it. Or she's gonna hit her shelf life and have to get pregnant by a producer. Who knows? Oh, did I give away an LA secret? Okay. Again, this is why I love LA. I have options. Cut to September 5th, 2019, in the doctor's room with Craig and my best girlfriend, Corey. The doctor checks my cervix, which if you've never had that done, real treat. And she's like, oh, you're actually dilated to 3 centimeters. And I was like, yeah, that's probably because of college, whatever. And she's like, no. That means the baby's coming. I was like, oh, cool. All right. 24 hours later, I gave birth to a beautiful, healthy, 8-pound, 6-ounce baby girl. Yes. We named her Everly Ryan Burch Tovey, which means we hyphenated her last name, or as my dad says, ugh, fucking liberals. I should also say that my dad is devout Catholic, and he has 3 kids from 2 marriages. And all 3 of his children had kids out of wedlock. So at a certain point, maybe it's you. So, the other interesting thing is, while we were in the labor and delivery room, the nurse could not figure out what our dynamic was between me, Craig, and Corey. Because Craig and I, obviously I'm the one in the bed giving birth, but Craig and I weren't the affectionate couple that most married people are, right? So she didn't know if Craig and Corey were a couple and I was the surrogate, or if Corey and I were a lesbian couple and he was the donor. So at one point, my mom makes it. She flies in from Kansas City. She arrives, and it's go time. I start calling shots. I say, somebody grab my left leg, somebody hold my right leg, and somebody hold my head up. And everybody grabs the leg, and my mom looks at Craig, and she's like, are you okay with the head? And I said in front of 2 nurses and an obstetrician, if he was okay with the head, we wouldn't be in this situation now, would we? Yeah. And now she knows who the parents are, okay? Now, my birth plan, which is an oxymoron, is that I wanted to go into labor on my actual due date, which was ironically Labor Day. I wanted to labor at home as long as possible until it was time for Craig to take me to the hospital, where my daughter would be born to the sounds of Nora Jones and Sarah Bareilles. And then eventually somebody would bring me sushi and a latte, and then I would be back to running my regular 3 miles by the end of the month. Yes. You hear the moms laughing in the audience like, oh, you dumb bitch. That's, right? What actually happened was I was induced 5 days late. I went through 15 hours of labor, 4.5 hours of pushing. It took 3 sets of hands and a vacuum to get her out. When she was out, they realized my uterus ripped and they had to stitch it manually without an epidural. Now, yeah. Oh, I brought the room down. You should have been there, Way worse for me. So it's like that scene in Alien where you could see something coming up, but instead of an extraterrestrial, it was just my doctor elbow deep fisting me, After that, I proceeded to bleed out on the table. I projectile vomited on my daughter, and I lost my hearing for 4 minutes. But then they took me to the recovery room where I could heal. I'm sorry, breastfeed, okay? Now, this is where it gets interesting. My daughter has something that's called a strong latch, okay? So with just her gums, she ripped off the tip of my right nipple. Yeah. Lactation specialist comes in and looks at it, and she goes, that should grow back. What? What kind of reptile shit is that? It's gonna grow back? Fucking hell. You should know it did grow back and a little longer than expected. So. I'm about 2 years into this sabbatical. It's a Saturday night. I'm watching P.S. I Love You for the 13th time that weekend. I'm a couple knuckles deep into a Nutella jar, you know what I mean? I'm simultaneously crying into my Cocker Spaniel Tootsie, who clearly, by the looks of it, is ready to file those emancipation letters, you know what I mean? And out of nowhere, my best friend Kristen bursts in the front door. She had a key because ladies, you know, when your friends are going through a heartbreak, you make a copy so you can do those proof of life check-ins. You know what I mean? So she kicks open the door like the spicy Italian she is. And she's like, that's it. She grabs the Nutella right out of my hand, turns off the TV, holds up a dress that's meant for me, and she's like, we're going to a birthday party, end of story. And I'm like, no, wait. I can't because Hillary Swank's about to open the final letter from Gerard Butler where he says it's okay to let go. She didn't like that, so she walked up and open hand slapped me hard across the face. Now, the Italian in me understood this because that's how we communicate. The half Irish in me, who outweighs her by 42 pounds, wanted to throw her out of the third-story window. Somehow, she outmanned me. Next thing I know, she's throwing me into a shower, then into that dress, and then into a car. We end up at a Hollywood party. And I know it's a Hollywood party because half the room is filled with 45 to 65-year-old men. The other half, nothing but 23-year-old supermodels in crop tops and six-pack abs. So I'm angry. I'm like an angry wet cat, okay? I don't want to be there. No one wants to engage with me. I could freak out at any moment. And at that point, Kristen goes, well, think of all the networking opportunities. And I go, whoa, okay. That guy looks like he directs porn, and these girls don't have work ethic. What the hell am I doing here? This doesn't even make sense, okay? At that point, I'm like, if you need me, I'll be at the food table, okay? So I walk over to the food table. Thing is, I told you LA was my second home. Food tables are my first. So I set up shop, and as I'm doing that, Kristen is a socialite. She's buzzing around, and every now and then she'll grab somebody to introduce me to. And under normal circumstances, I would be honored to meet these people. But I have no feelings left, and I am numb to the world. So she brings over somebody, and she's like, Nicole, this is Anthony. He started all the CSIs. And I'm like, great, Malamar. And she goes, oh, here. And Nicole, this is Melody. She's been on Young and the Restless for 30 years. And I'm like, Nikki Newman, great. Check out this chocolate fountain, eh? Then lastly, she brings over this guy that looks just like Michael Bay. Because he's Michael Bay. Again, normally would be starstruck. He comes up and she goes, oh, this is Michael. He directed all the Transformers. And I don't know if it was the sugar high, but I said, can you transform these strawberry cream puffs into chocolate? Because that's Mama's speed. And then at that point, because I'm like, worst case, they'll think it's funny. He didn't.